Do you ever get caught up in sort of an internal battle or like an internal twisting where you know what sort of life you want? You want a simple life, you want a high quality life, you want a life where you've got choices to do what you want to do and you want to take it back to basics. But then there's this whole, we've got to make money, we've got to buy houses, we've got to get ahead, we've got to compete against other people around us, and we benchmark ourselves against other people. In today's video, I want to talk about this concept of how you can lead a minimalistic life but still take advantage of the benefits of modern society and capitalism. Sitting in the spa with my brother-in-law actually a couple of days ago. Every Sunday we go for a gym workout at his house. We have a sauna and a spa and a really good sort of philosophical chat about what's going on in our lives at the moment. And when I was sitting there with him, he's 31 years of age now, I was just listening to the way that he spoke, and he's working a good job. He's an animator and an artist. He's lucky enough to have been able to find a good job that pays him $90,000 per year, close to where he lives. He's living in a really nice unit with a couple of roommates, got a gym, a spa, a sauna, a couple of pools. He's got a nice new car and a car loan. But I'm sitting there with him and he's really, really into Japanese anime, obviously being an artist that's sort of inspiring to him. And he's just so unhappy with this concept of having to go to work every day. And while he's been at work, he's been listening to all sorts of different things, some of it conspiracy stuff, some of it other stuff around society and the capitalistic way that we go about things. And I can see that all he really wants to do all day, if he could and money wasn't an issue, is buy a nice home, get off the grid, grow his own food, live a simple life, train, do art that he loves, and probably just watch anime, catch up with mates. Like, that is him in a T. But he's got this other side to himself, which is the conditioned side, the competitive side, the beliefs, the values, the things that he grew up with, which are just constantly in conflict to this simple life that his inner child, as we call it, wants to really live. And it's crazy. Like, week in, week out, I see him battling with this concept of going to work, working for the man, paying off a car loan, talking about getting ahead financially with this completely conflicting lifestyle. So there's three very distinct journeys in my 20s that I wanted to talk to you about, or basically from age 20 to about 33, which is what I am now. Now, the first one is my very, very minimalistic, unplugged from society, unplugged from materialism, unplugged from consumption, just a very simple life. And that was my first stage. My second stage was the complete opposite to that. And that was a very, very money-orientated, wealth-orientated, achieving financial freedom and accumulating stuff phase. And then the third phase is when I've been able to, in the last 12 months, incorporate the way that I think in my life in terms of this minimalism and, still having a good amount of money coming in so that I don't have to stress about anything. And that's kind of the balance that I've been able to achieve. And I think that's what this video is really about. So the first stage was when I was at uni. At 20 years of age, I decided to move out of Sydney and come to Queensland and try university up here. And I did a 4-year degree living in Queensland, which was epic. And at that time in my life, being a student, I was on the Australian government assistance, which was amazing. I'm so grateful we've got a government that helped me out. And then I also was working part-time jobs in bars, cafes, restaurants, cleaning toilets, cleaning rooms, basically whatever I could. And each week I think I got about $300 per week. And my expenses in my life at that time were somewhere between about $250 and $350 a week. So some weeks I was ahead, some weeks I was behind. Now, because I had no money and because I had never really had any money before that, that was my independent money outside of like what my parents, obviously provided me with a house and everything growing up. So I had this time where I had to live a very simplistic life. I could only afford a certain amount of money. I think my budget for shopping each week was $80. So that sort of made me become a bit of a meat minimalist, or at one stage for a year I stopped eating meat altogether because of the environmental impact, also because it was fucking expensive at the supermarket. And I lived this life where, because I didn't have too much money, I couldn't do too much. The one splurge that I did each year was go on an overseas holiday. Went to Europe, went to Southeast Asia, went to Bali a bunch, went to America as well. Travel was super important to me, but week to week I'd train, I'd hang out with my friends, I'd hang out with my family. I'd do little simple weekends away that were cheap, like in my van, which I could stay in overnight. I'd focus on my studies. I just have a really good time, always living in share houses with mates and stuff like that, and just sort of going through that stage of my life where it was all very, very simple. Now, I was studying business management as well as environmental sustainability, and the environmental sustainability impacted my beliefs and values at that stage of my life, to the point where I really did believe in a completely minimalistic life where I wasn't consuming any more than I needed. I was buying all of my clothes secondhand at the time because I didn't have cash, all my furniture and stuff like that. Now, this is between ages 20 and 24, pre-kids, pre-partner, pre-wife, pre-cars, pre-jobs, pre-career, like pre-actually getting into the real fucking world, like, to be honest with you. And so it was easy to hide out in that minimalistic way, and I think a lot of people like the idea of just going back to basics and making everything extremely simple, but because my life was so minimalistic at that time and so simple, it was also stressful because I didn't have financial freedom. I didn't have secure income. When I'd go on a holiday, I'd lose my job because I was just a little part-timer, a cog in the little wheel, and I'd have to go find a new job. Some weeks when a bill would come in, for example, I'd be stuffed. It was very, very stressful from that perspective, and I think people that just go for minimalism without focusing on wealth creation and money end up being quite dissatisfied. And what I find is that they get a bit of a chip on their shoulder about people that have money, about society, about corporations, about big business, about the whole world trying to rip them off and like the world owes them something. And that is, I believe, a completely toxic way to live, and certainly not in line with what I wanted. So, like I generally do, I swing between things. My wife says because I'm a Gemini. And so I finished university. At that point, I'd had the shits with not earning any money for 4 years, and I was ready to make some cash. At 23 years of age, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it kind of connected this dot, or started to reshape the way that I thought about things, which is, I can live the way that I want to live, but I can also achieve financial freedom and make good money. And the way to do that is to buy assets, or property in my case, because that's what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about. I'm sure if he was talking about shares, I would have been a share guy. And then he also said that businesses are better than working for someone else, and I really took that into consideration and account. So I started this next phase, which was between 24 and about 31 years of age, and that was, I'm going to become a fucking millionaire as quickly as I can. I'm going to create a passive income for life. I kind of let go of that idea of I'm just going to, earn nothing, sort of do nothing, and lead a very simple life, to I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. I'm going to get the skill set to start my own business. I'm going to buy as much property as I possibly can. And over that 7-year period between 24 and 31, I bought 11 properties. I went and worked for IBM in their graduate program, cut my teeth, then and worked for a number of three very successful entrepreneurs, learned everything about business, and then started my own business at 28 years of age. So crazy different journey. Over that 7-year period, I was literally able to go from completely broke to being a multi-millionaire, not just through assets, but through cash and through businesses as well. It wasn't just one thing, it was a number of things that I was doing over that journey. But I got to the end of that period of time. Over that time, I also met my wife. I got married. We did a bunch of traveling together. We lived in Queensland. We lived in Sydney. We had our children, our 3 beautiful children, literally between 20 6, and now I'm 33. We had 3 children, and we bought, renovated a home, we built a home, we built another waterfront home, and then we've just bought a home and renovated on the beach. And all of this crazy stuff has happened. Now, my mindset over that period of time, like I said, was full-blown capitalist, make money, get financially free, look after me, look after my family, look after the people that I care about, but sort of very, very self-centric, if you know what I mean. Look after our clients, look after the people in my circle of competence, but don't really think about all the stuff that I did between 20 and 24. Like, at that stage of my life, I was doing so many different things. Like, I worked for Oxfam, Oak Tree Foundation, Queensland government, local government. Like, everything was about contributing to the community. And what happened is, I get to this point at 31, I've got this goal of becoming a millionaire, of creating a passive income for life, and I thought that would make me happy. And sometimes when you're chasing just the capitalistic way of thinking, you get on this roll of achieving goal after goal after goal, setting goal after goal, and thinking about the future like anything you do, whether it's a new car, new house, new partner, new business, new idea, new goal is going to make you happy. But what I realized is that you can build up this way of thinking that is very, very self-centered and also extremely focused, which enables you to achieve the goal. But how do I say this? Sort of very shallow almost. Like, I was doing all of these amazing things, and in my personal life I was absolutely stoked with my family and my mates, and obviously my wife and my kids. And in my business life, I thought making more money, taking more clients on, using that income or that excess income to pay off properties outright or buy more property would make me happy. But I get to 31 years of age, and for the first time in my life, I start recognizing that I'm twisted, and that my values that I was living day to day didn't necessarily align with the way that I truly think and believe. And it really affected me for the last couple of years. I sort of have gone through this huge journey, which has been kind of going right back to basics and understanding who I am, what I value, what's important to me, and how my life, should look from a contentment, happiness perspective on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to constantly looking forward, which was giving me, to be honest with you, crazy anxiety at that stage of my life. Because the thing about the capitalistic system is there's always someone ahead of you, or you're always behind where you think you should be, or that beautiful car that you bought 2 years ago is now depreciated by 30% or whatever. Like, I'm not really a superficial dude. Even when I was chasing money, it was never to buy stuff. It was, I'm driving like a really basic Volkswagen, which I bought when Volkswagen was having all those problems a few years ago and was selling them dirt cheap. It's still 3 years later. I could sell it for more than I bought it for brand new. But, what I realized is that it doesn't have to be one or the other. And so the first thing, I had no idea what to do. Like, I'd completely disconnected from my child self, I think. I'd completely disconnected from my 20 to 24-year-old self. And the only thing that I knew that I needed was time. For some reason, I just kept coming back to time. So what I did is, for the last year and a half, I haven't worked a Friday. I've literally went down to 4 days a week. And the thing that I knew that I loved outside of business was my family. So I kind of just got really involved in family life, just really focused on spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife, because I felt like when I was just chasing money, I was working 60, some weeks 80 hours a week. When I first started the business, for the first few years before I learnt time management and prioritization, I kind of was just a yes man, said yes to everyone. You want to talk at 10 o'clock at night? Cool. You work in London or New York, you want to work with us? Cool, I'll get up at 2 a.m. to talk to you. I'll work all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I was just non-stop. And when I first started the business, I was working from home, so I found it really difficult to switch off. But what I've realized over the last couple of years, and I did have to go see a psychologist about this, because I couldn't figure it out for myself. I couldn't figure out how to get over the way that I was feeling, which was I know that 100% minimalistic, not having any money lifestyle wasn't for me, but I also knew that just chasing cash, just chasing businesses and property wasn't for me either. And I've sort of created this blended life over the last really 6 months, to be honest with you, where we bought this beautiful home, which is really peaceful in a beautiful location. We've got solar panels on the roof, we've got a water tank out the back, we get to grow a tiny bit of our own food, but I'm really slack with that. We compost all our scraps, we recycle as much as we can, and so from that perspective I feel good. We buy our produce locally, we buy most of our stuff fresh. But the flip side of that is, and this simple life, I spend 3 to 4 days a week with my family. I get to go on holidays, spend time with them, be present with them, drop the kids at school, and all that good stuff that makes me feel whole. We don't consume anything more than we need. We recycle and give back a lot of our stuff. And that makes me feel good from that perspective, because it's a sort of simple life without huge amounts of consumption. Like, we don't need anything. We don't have any debt on our own home. We don't have any car loans. We don't have any credit cards. We don't have any personal loans. And so from that perspective, it takes a lot of pressure off to have a simple life. But on the flip side of that, I'm still young. I'm still ambitious in the way, not so much about chasing money, but in terms of helping people, in terms of spreading these sorts of messages that you can have both. And I still have an incredible business where I work with my brother, my sister, my mum, my best mate, and some incredible people. We get to take on 5 incredible clients a month and help them set up their life so that in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, they've got financial freedom. And, the chips are starting to fall into place. Like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, I train. Friday to Sunday, I surf, and I do like that Sunday afternoon thing with my friends. And I'm kind of making my peace slowly with this idea of I can lead a very simple, basic life, but not to the point where it gives me dissatisfaction, because a very, very simplistic, basic, minimalistic life can also be very selfish, because you don't contribute to anybody else but yourself, because you don't have anything else to give. Like a extremely money-orientated, wealth-orientated business, property, share-orientated life can also be very shallow and hollow and selfish as well on the complete other end of the spectrum. So, I don't know where I sit with this. It's kind of a day-to-day thing, but I do know what my values are now. Now, my values are to help people. My values are to spend meaningful time with my family and friends. My values are to train and look after myself mentally, physically, and now spiritually, because I'm in a better headspace. And my goal my value from a wealth perspective is to make sure that I'm in a strong financial position where I get choices for the rest of my life. Because the cool thing about having a minimalistic or a simple way of living on top of financial freedom is you really don't have to give a fuck about anything. Now, that might sound brutal, because a lot of people either choose full-blown minimalism or choose to stay broke, or they go to the other end of the spectrum, which is just business, 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 or job, 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 money, 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 and they end up deeply unhappy, deeply disconnected from themselves and their family and the reason that they're doing it, and that they just never get off that hamster wheel of chasing more, more, more. And you see so many examples of people like this online where they just have no idea when to stop because they're caught in it. Now, the cool thing about recognizing both of those things is, you can have a nice passive income for life, and you can have a good business, and you can have great relationships, and you can also have a very, very simplistic, low impact, minimalistic, basic life or spiritual life. And I love that, this idea of beginning to merge these two things in my world. And, I don't think I'll ever be the dude that just wants to start business after business after business and grow them. Like, I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday, and he's like, why don't you package up Pumped On Property and franchise it, because it's such a simple model now? Or why don't you, grow the property management business I have, or I'm starting a building company next year. Why don't you, build the building company to huge? And I'm like, I just want a simple life. I want really high quality businesses that produce good income, that have a great team in place and really good systems in place, that really only care about one thing, and that is giving our clients the most incredible experience in the world and treating them with respect and making sure that the things that they're going through and the challenges that they're working through become our challenges, and we empathize with them and we care for them and we do the right thing by them time and time again. And I think long term that would make me happy. I don't need a huge amount of things, but the cool thing about the hard work that I've put in focusing on that capitalistic side of things in the past was, if all of these things stop or the world stops, then I'm in a strong financial position where I don't need the incomes from any of these businesses to continue to lead a simple, happy, meaningful life before I do whatever's next. So, whether you're at the end of the spectrum where I was at 24, which is like full-blown environmentalist, not earning much money, living a really, really simplistic life, but sort of pissed off at society. Be real with yourself, I know you are. Or, unless you're Japanese, and then that's just culture. Or you're leading this ridiculously busy, stressful, important, money-orientated, ego-orientated, rolling like the big poppin', rolling like the boss in the big car, but fucking hating yourself every day because you're not yourself anymore and you're so disconnected from what you want, and too many times a day or a week or a year you're having to bend over and cop it in a way that no one wants to cop it, and you're leading that lifestyle where it feels good to everyone on the outside, which is what mine looked like for a long time, but it doesn't feel good on the inside. And I've got this quote on my wall at work, which is, lead a lifestyle that not only looks good on the outside but feels amazing on the inside. Because if you don't look after this and after this and after your mind and your spirit, then I'll tell you what, it will catch you out, and you'll end up with anxiety, you'll end up divorced, you'll end up with shocking relationships with your friends or your kids, you'll end up jaded, you'll end up thinking the world owes you something. And I've felt all of these things myself, and now I just am moving to more being in the present moment, enjoying life, being grateful for it, and knowing that it's not one or the other. We can all have both, and by having both, it frees us from putting ourselves in this box and calling ourselves A or B. It frees us from black and white thinking. It frees us from making the wrong connections. It enables our neural pathways to start making new connections where I don't just have to be broke and lead a simple life because I can be financially free, or I don't just have to earn money and be the big baller. I can be really happy and present and enjoy that journey and maybe work a little bit less, because this journey that I've been on has taught me that it doesn't have to be one or the other. I can be both. And I was so scared of not working 80 hours a week when I went to 60. I was so scared from going to 60 hours a week to 40. I was so scared of going from working 5 days a week to 4. Last year I went from 4 to 3 for 2 months. I was so scared of taking time off over the Christmas break and what my clients would think because I'm having a holiday. I was so scared back in the day of setting people's expectations properly and saying no to things and saying, I work these hours, let's make it work together. I was so scared of not starting the next new idea that I had, or taking on that painful client because it represented money, or not having a project to be working on. Like, that stuff scared the crap out of me, because obviously buying 11 properties over 10 years, you kind of get in this pattern of, well, every year I buy 1 or 2 properties type thing, that's just what I do, or I'm renovating or subdividing or building. Or with business, we just had year-on-year growth of literally 300% per year for 4 years straight. And then I made this decision, which was we're taking on 15, 20 clients a month with a small team of 4 or 5 people. And I just went, what the fuck am I doing? I'm so stressed out. I'm so anxious. I'm sick of managing all of these people's problems. I just I remembered that, you know, I think going one way or the other is too far now. I get that there's people on the extremes. I get that there's Buddhist monks that just want to chase that high of what you get from being completely peaceful and hitting nirvana, or hitting that point where you've got no thoughts in your mind, or chasing that light place or that higher elevation where they sometimes can reach, and you know, they get addicted to that feeling. I know there's other people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol. I know that I've been addicted to working before. I've been addicted to training before. I've definitely been addicted to beating myself up about thinking I've got to be one thing or the other and not both. So this is sort of something that I want to do more of. I'm calling these segments Drive with Ben. It's literally just my commute to work, where I talk about things that are meaningful to me in my life and my world. And you know, I am a property guy. That's what we do. That's my business, Pumped on Property. But I've recognized that I'm also so much more than that. I'm a person that does care deeply about where you're at in your life and where you want to get to. I'm a person that deeply cares about physical health, spiritual health, that deeply, deeply cares about family and friends and having a good lifestyle while you work towards where it is. And, you know, I've had a lot of experiences. We've bought over $350 million worth of property for our clients. I've started and ran successfully a couple of multi-million-dollar businesses. I've had that financial success, but I tell you that it isn't the Holy Grail. It's not the light that you expect it to be. When you pay off your own home, no one's going to be standing out the front of your letterbox when you get in your car and high-fiving you every morning going, fuck yeah. You know, when you have that first $1 million year or $2 million year or $3 million year from business, it's not going to be like someone's going to be like, yes. In fact, you're probably going to lose some people around you because of it, because, you know, we generally hang out with people that are at a similar stage, and when you start changing your stage, you attract other people, but you also unfortunately lose some people. So these sessions on Drive is literally me cruising from Shelley Beach on the Sunshine Coast to my office in Coolum, talking about this stuff that's going on in my life. Sometimes it's going to be property, sometimes it's going to be business and investing, sometimes it's going to be health, spirituality, books I'm reading, family stuff. But it's me just getting real and getting past all of the superficial bullshit in the business world right now and the property world, which is just money, 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 Lambos, 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 short-term chunks of cash, kicking ass, and none of those guys are talking about it. And I've talked to some of the biggest ballers in the property industry in Australia in person, had beers with those guys, and some of them have literally looked me in the eye the first time that I ever met them, saying they absolutely hate their life. Others have been like, this is my absolute passion, I love what I'm doing. But don't get caught up in the hype, guys. Like, there's always two sides, and I'm going to start sharing both sides of the journey so that, you know, we can just have this chat. You know, maybe you chuck this on when you're driving, maybe you chuck this on when you're in the gym, maybe you chuck it on at night when you're sitting down with your partner and having a beer. But I want it to be like you and I are sitting here together, driving to work together theoretically, and talking about real shit, the stuff that you can't talk about with your friends, the stuff that you can't talk about with your family. That is what, you know, my truth is, my purpose is. And, you know, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll be producing 5 videos a week this year. You can also subscribe to our our podcast, the Pumped on Property Show. Love you to like us on Facebook, like us on or follow us on Instagram. Just Pumped on Property for both of those. And we don't try and do everything the same on each channel. Like, these YouTube videos are for YouTube, obviously, but Facebook, we make it Facebook. Podcast, we make it podcast. The format's always different, but the one underlying thing is we're always being super real. We're always talking about the stuff that's going on in our lives, and, you know, trying to help you get to financial freedom, trying to enable you to have a more balanced lifestyle, trying to help you realize that it's okay to have what you want, and regardless of where you are or where you've been or what's happened to you in the past, you know, we can move forward together and 5, 10, 15 years from now, our lives will look very, very different together. So thanks for your time. I'm almost at the office now. As you can see, I'm driving past. This is what I love about the Sunshine Coast. This is literally like 2 minutes from the beach. We've got a field. We've got beautiful Mount Coolum out there. So thank you guys. Can't wait to continue the conversation. See ya.